I thought there's got to be better ways to bring products out. So that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. The more I can get people to realize that living a healthier lifestyle and enjoying what you have now is better than having to say, yes, I'm putting in this type of chemical because it's not good for you, but it tastes better. I'm focused on what I'm doing as far as for the health aspect, because I think it's better for you and it's better for the planet. And that's why it works.
Hello again, food enthusiasts. My name is Chris Rajkowski, your host today for the Future Foodcast. We're here to talk with thought leaders in today's food industry and discuss the trends and technology that are shaping the future of food. Today, I'm very happy to be in person with Mark Duncan, the CEO of this product here, Prime Plus, which we're going to learn a lot about during the next 30 minutes. Welcome, Mark.
Good day.
Well, Mark, you and I have had a chance to talk before we went live, sitting together here in the studio in Calgary. And you have a very interesting origin story. You know, you were doing a lot of interesting things in your life, but let's talk about that until what brought you up to actually starting this product?
Well, Chris, it was basically a bet, but the other part of that bet was reading all the ingredients panels and all the different products that are out there. This is a couple of years ago. And I got to the point where, why do we need this? Why do you need that? And it frustrated me because when I looked it up on the internet, what it's all about, I'm going, why are we putting these products in your body? This is nuts. So I sat down and I ordered a bunch of different ingredients and vitamins and everything. And I started working on this. And a friend of mine says, you can't do it, you can't do it. And I said, well, let's see. So I put it all together and sent it to Health Canada, and they approved it after 2 years, which is a lengthy time. But it's the point where I know that I'm selling something or producing something that is good for you, and it also has no harm for you. So that's the basic of what I've done.
That's how you got started. And how were you prepared for this in your career? What in your career led you to being a food trendsetter?
No, I was 40 years. I've been installing, I had my own store, carpet and hardwood and that. And it got to the point where I said, I got to have a change. And I looked at that because now my needs are shot and everything else. But I met a lot of people in different industries because of that. And so this gave me a bit of a push, right, to get going.
So you're an entrepreneur at heart.
Oh, totally. I've never worked for anybody.
Excellent.
I've never had a paycheck from some company. I always felt that if you're going to do something, you could do it on your own, be done with it.
Excellent. So taking that entrepreneurial spirit combined with this essentially shock at what's in the market for drink products and looking for something new, and you created it. What kind of reception has it been getting in your early testing?
Well, it's funny because when I started doing it, and I actually had my first run with only 250 mil for water, I gave it to a bunch of my friends, and one of them, his wife suffers from migraines. And so I gave them to him, and about 2 weeks later, we're in having coffee, and I hear this voice, and it's, Duncan, get your old butt over here. And I go, what's wrong, Johnny? And he says, my wife wants a divorce. And I says, why? And he says, well, you got rid of one pain. Now she wants to get rid of the other one. So I said, it worked. And he says, yeah, her migraine was totally gone down within about an hour because the electrolytes and the calcium and the vitamin D and the magnesium brought her back up. And he says she hasn't had a migraine now in 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe tell us a little bit more about your mission in formulating this product, because you had an interesting, I would say, goal in creating this product with the contents.
Well, my goal was to get it so that I could get it so that people anywhere could drink it. You know, hot or cold doesn't matter. And I looked at everybody else's way they're doing their packets. And I won't say they're my competitors, but I won't name them. But I didn't like the way they formulated things. So it's not my background, but I thought, I think I can do this.
Mhm.
So after a number of times, as far as going back and forth with their producer, we got it down to the point where it's right now.
Mhm.
And so we're co-packing. But before that, I was doing it in bottle form.
Okay.
And I thought, this is crazy shipping water across Canada.
Yeah.
And the cost is nuts.
Right. I think before we had talked a little bit about the way that you essentially determine how much of certain ingredients should be in the product. For example, in some products you might see 1,000 IBUs of vitamin C or these types of things.
Yeah,
but you took a very special approach to that.
Well, I did, because I looked up online as far as like with Health Canada and the FDA, what they recommend as far as what you should take per day of a certain vitamin or a certain mineral and everything else. So I thought, okay, it complicates as far as when you take vitamins. So let's do half so that we don't have a problem, but you're still getting your nutrients plus your vitamin. And I only use one vitamin in 3 of my drinks. And so that if you miss out one day and not eating, or you're not taking your vitamins, at least you're getting something by drinking Prime.
Right.
And with my orange drink, which we're starting to do, we only have 500 mg of vitamin C, because that's all your body can handle. Because the rest of it goes where? In the toilet.
Right.
So trying to stay focused as far as not to take you so that you're way up here, but you're level all the time. And it's a good base to run with. So you don't overdo something, or you don't underdo it. You're just in the middle.
Yeah, well, that's frankly a refreshing and positive approach to business. It's not, the numbers aren't there for marketing; they're there for actual value to the person. And at the end of the day,
I'm not here to appease to the other companies, the way they do their product. That's totally in their ballpark. But when I sit down and you look at a product and it says it's got fructose in it and glucose, but it says no sugar.
Sure.
It's kind of like misleading.
Yeah. Well, this also seems to point toward, I would say, some interest in sustainability of the product and really of the supply chain. In other words, not wasting material.
Yeah, not wasting material. But the other part is also, we have a 2-year shelf life on ours. We don't have any silicone in it, and we don't have any cornstarch. And we've kept it so that it's not synthetic in any regards. It's all natural, almost 90% organic in one way. And so it lasts longer. And we maintain with our preservative is citric acid, which is also similar to like a vitamin C, but it's not. But it also helps as far as the body, but it's a good preservative. So, hot or cold.
Yeah. Well, you also had I would say, it seems like an interesting business revelation in cost. And when we talk about packaging, and I have here a sample of the original packaging. You have a very typical plastic bottle with your product in it. And you've transitioned over to, this is essentially the full product now. Tell us about that.
Well, we sent it a truckload down to Toronto, and it costs us almost $3,200 to ship it. And I'm going, okay, fine. And then when I switched over to doing packet, a skid load has got roughly 480,000 packets on it, and it costs $320. So the cost on your environment and everything else and shipping, so they can put more of other products in the truck and get it to the market faster, is better.
Well, that's, I think, a pretty interesting business result. That it's a very practical business result that actually results in much improved sustainability. What other benefits have you found from, say, not using plastic bottles?
A friend of mine one time, because he asked me about the water, and I said, okay, what are you doing? He says, any plastic in the water? And I went, I have no idea. And so I talked to the plant. I said, do you wash the bottles out before you fill them? The guy says, no, it's too expensive. So a friend of mine took one of the bottles and he emptied it out and found microplastic in the actual product. And so the residue from when they actually make the bottle to fill it, it's not clean. There's fine little plastic particles in there. So you're drinking that.
And is that in every standard bottle these days?
It's almost like every bottle that's out there, other than when you get glass.
Wow. And this, obviously, microplastics is something we hear a lot about these days.
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah.
not heard that statement in the popular media at all.
No, but they're very fine. But they get into because the bottle, from what I understand, when they heat it up and expand it, the inside is the last as far as where the heat dissipates. So then you have little fine threads or whatever, and just little tiny beadlets that are in the water.
So not only are you reducing essentially this much plastic with every serving, but you're also reducing the amount of plastics that people are drinking considerably.
Oh yeah. And it's always comical is when you see the product on the shelf and it says it's from the mountains. It's tap water.
Yeah. Well, have you thought much about, there's a pretty wide scope of sustainability opportunities with this product that you've built into it really just by making smart business decisions. How do you communicate some of the, because this is interesting in the market today and people actually buy, or at least are inclined to buy products because of their sustainability practices. How do you communicate that to customers?
Well, as far as the retailers go, they like the idea that there's 15 little packets in a box, and the size of that box versus one of those bottles, and the return is greater. And now they don't have to worry about refrigeration. And that's a big cost too. So they're looking at that, and also the fact that what they're getting as far as recycling and everything, they don't have to worry about that. So just keep on moving forward to do better and better. And I'm looking down the road as far as doing a hemp jar. So put the actual powder all into one jar and with a scoop, and you can throw the hemp jar into the garbage and never have to worry about it.
Hemp jar. Tell us about that. I haven't heard about this.
There's a company in Colorado that actually makes jars from hemp, and they look like plastic jars. They're a little thicker, but you can just, they're 100% they decompose. And so they're not bad for the landfill at all, and it's natural.
Interesting.
So we have to keep on moving forward. So to reduce. And I think that's a better way to look at life, as far as taking all the nonsense out of it. There's lots of flour that's going on this whole product and everything else. But if we put it into perspective as far as what we're throwing away, but what we're keeping is a better deal. You're keeping yourself healthy, but you're also keeping the planet healthy.
Yeah. And a little bit later, I want to talk about how does this relate more to marketing and what consumers are looking at. But I find it really interesting. I talk to a lot of people on this podcast, a lot of very smart, capable entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are driven. I would say some of them even start their business because of sustainability. They want a product that's lower in plastic, that's more natural, organic, et cetera. But I guess my meaning is they literally started brands focused on sustainability, whereas you certainly had an approach of having an improved product, less sugars, et cetera. But what I find very interesting is you made smart financial business decisions. Those smart financial business decisions actually led to tremendously improved, I would say, environmental sustainability related to your product. The environment is everything as far as the overall. I look at, I think it's going to happen more and more in this industry. You're going to see less and less as far as plastic goes on. People are going to come up with different applications as far as how to put their product into a box or packaging or whatever. And it's going to be better for the environment. So our CO2s and all this other stuff. But it's really, for me, it's just when people say, I like your drink, you've done something good. And that's what really keeps me focused as far as moving forward to do the next one. And I'm even now looking at maybe doing an energy bar, so. Interesting.
Yeah, so there's lots of applications you can do as far as in the food business, different avenues you can go down to. So Opening it up as far as to get rid of plastic is one thing. Reducing it is better, so that we all can move forward with less in the landfill,
right,
and then less in our garbage can.
Yeah. Well, I think you probably could teach a few courses to budding entrepreneurs out there about why actually being more sustainable improves your bottom line. It doesn't have to be more expensive to be sustainable. In fact, it actually makes a whole lot of logical sense in that if you're using less raw materials, your product costs less, and you potentially could have greater margins.
Oh yeah, I mean, the space that the bottle takes up, plus also all the product that it goes into, is almost 3 times, 4 times much more versus doing a little tiny packet.
Right.
And the bottles that are out there, as far as what goes on the shelf and everything, they only have it anywhere from a 6 to a year shelf life, and then they start to go bad. Whereas with Prime, we have 2-year shelf life.
Right. Well, and this is also an interesting point when you talk about shelf life and shelf space in bricks and mortar stores. And it's always a challenge for sort of early products getting shelf space. How have you found the shift from going from a 1 bottle this size to 15 packets in an actually smaller size? Has it made it easier to get onto shelf space, or how have the retailers approached that?
Retailers like the idea that they can put more in a smaller application on the shelf versus having to do multiple as far as one product. And it takes up very little. 1 bottle versus 15 packets in that same shelf area. And I can double it up by putting 2, one on top of the other,
right, versus
that. So yeah, they like the idea, but they're also making more money per square inch versus 1 bottle.
Yeah. Well, maybe let's switch over and think about the consumers for a while, because at the end of the day, no matter how great the product is, people have to enjoy it, or the product doesn't exist for very long. Now, there's certainly, especially with COVID happening over the last year or two, there's been a big shift toward e-commerce, and as people are shopping online more, how have you approached your marketing versus getting your product into stores versus thinking about if and how you might utilize more e-commerce?
Well, I'm fortunate when I met you, I just signed my first contract with a company called Planet Foods, and they're right across Canada. So they do all the grocery, they do all the retail for me, and they're starting to move everything forward as far as to get us right across Canada. So I'm tickled about that. The e-commerce, we're just getting that put forward right now with a new website, and so people can buy online. But I've worked out a deal with Post Canada where I can ship anywhere across Canada for $3.30. So it could be to Vancouver, or it can be to Halifax, anywhere I want to ship it, 15 packets for $3.30. Whereas if I have to ship with Amazon or these other guys, it's like $9. So working based on that is great. People save money. We're not doing a whole lot of big boxes. We're doing just in an envelope, and you get 15 packets. So reducing their waste again, and it's in the door and out the door. So it's good.
Interesting. So again, I might appear a little bit shocked, and I am a little bit shocked by all these decisions that you're making. Again, you're really just making good business decisions. But I do talk to a lot of people like yourself who are entrepreneurs. In many cases, you're just a few steps ahead of people making decisions for sustainability. But again, you're doing it because it makes practical sense. Yeah,
it does. And the funny part is I'm the only guy. There's nobody else that works for me. I'm just one little entrepreneur that wants to do things on a sensible application. It doesn't make sense doing that, but it makes sense doing this.
Right.
So if it's more cost effective on one hand, that's the way I go. And I stay that route.
Yeah. Well, and it is a challenge running small businesses, especially when I think working in areas that might be sort of off the topic of being an entrepreneur, for example, marketing. How do you approach the marketing situation, especially if you're looking at e-commerce? You're looking to push out more product through Canada Post, which is e-commerce at the end of the day. How are you reaching out to consumers?
We'll be doing Facebook. We'll do Google. I have a lot of friends down east that are putting it on their Facebook as far as say, hey, a friend of mine does this, and it's working out very well. We're getting a lot of people saying, hey, we'd like to order from you. And I'm tickled. It really is. It's a great deal. Just keeping things so that it's basic, so that it doesn't take a lot of money once you get rolling, as far as to have that involvement with all your friends outside of your own business that help promote you. And I'm fortunate with that because of being on LinkedIn, and all these people are yakking at me as far as saying, hey, we'll give you a hand, we'll give you a hand. And so it's starting to roll that way. And so, yeah, I'm lucky in that way as far as like to be focused on not spending $1 million or $50. It's all the help I'm getting. So that's a big plus for me right now.
So it sounds like also a fair amount of your effort is in B2B sales. Do you do most of your sales B2B and then those retailers are reselling, or are you also looking at going direct to consumers, for example, in e-commerce?
Direct. I prefer to do the direct application because then they're dealing with just me.
Okay.
And the B&B guys, the guys that want to buy off me, I kind of like put my hands up and say, no, they don't have insurance to cover the product. Whereas I've spent this money to have my insurance so that I don't have to worry about it. And I'd rather be dealing directly with one-on-one with the customer instead of going channel down the road.
Right.
So they can feel confident that it's going out the door and it's going down to their house or whatever. And it just feels more better doing it that way. Instead of having everybody else grabbing onto your product and saying they're selling it for this price and that price. And it's one price on the website. That's it.
Right. Well, and we've talked a fair amount about sustainability and how you got there. And sometimes, customers are very interested in that and they really want to maybe understand what's happening. Where did these products really come from? And in other words, transparency in supply chain and transparency in the origin of the content of the product. Have you thought much about, how for your product, you might provide that transparency to your customers?
Well, there's one cut review, which is out of Toronto, did a write-up on me. And it's pretty well down to the basic as far as like, why did I want to do this? And where am I going with this? And when I have my dad passed away from prostate cancer, I thought there's got to be better ways to bring products out. So that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. But the more I can get people to realize that living a healthier lifestyle and enjoying what you have now is better than having to say, oh, I'm putting in this type of chemical because it's not good for you, but it tastes better.
Right.
So I'm focused on what I'm doing as far as for the health aspect, because I think it's better for you and it's better for the planet. And that's why it works.
Well, I think, frankly, the viewers of this particular episode really need to pay attention to just the basics of business, and all the fancy stuff you hear from Harvard Business School, et cetera. Very, very important. But at the end of the day, you've made just smart business decisions based on your many decades as an entrepreneur. And that is translated directly into a very sustainable product in the food space.
Yeah. And a lot of it's just my gut. What would that guy do? Or what would this guy do? Or what would that guy do? So I do a lot of reading. And things come to you as far as like, that makes sense, or no, that doesn't make sense. And so I kind of like formulated that whole aspect of like common sense is a better way to go than try to blow up all the flowers and make everybody feel happy and everything else. And I just want to keep it simple. So that's where I'm staying. Excellent.
And I think that's a great point to sort of wrap up on. Again, we're here with Mark Duncan, and this is actually the first round of your new box coming out. So, and this is actually the orange product that's not yet available. I'm looking forward to trying that.
Yes. And the orange, like I say, we only have 500 mg of vitamin C because other guys use 1,000. And 500 of it goes into the toilet instead of helping you.
Yeah.
And we have no sugar. We have no fructose in our product. I've stuck with the basic of stevia, and I'm not going to move off of it because it's also good for people with high blood pressure. It keeps them in line. And so if we look at all the way that you can put together the ingredients, and it makes sense, that's where we're going.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Mark. Really appreciate having you here on Future Foodcast.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.